with what it means to you to be inducted into the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame.
It means more than I can express. It means my life has gone full circle. I've gone from a kid being raised here with a loving, supportive family who nurtured a dream that I had. They believed in me, and all these years later, I get to come back, accept this award, and accept it on behalf of them. They're the ones who made it happen.
You're known partly for your phrase, "Hello, friends." What, kind of got that started, and what does it mean for you to have such like an iconic phrase?
Well, it was never intended to be that, but it was purely just an attempt to try to communicate with my dad, who was suffering from Alzheimer's. And I came up with a little catchphrase to let him know. When I said it on camera, I was thinking of him. As his mind was slowly deteriorating, I wanted him to be able to hold on to that and let him know that his son up there on television is thinking of you at this very moment. I didn't think anyone would ever even notice. But after a while, people did, because it became repetitive. And my dad's been gone now for almost 16 years. But when I look into that lens, like I'm looking at it right now, I don't see millions of people on the other side. I see him when I say hello, friends. And I open up a broadcast, it relaxes and calms me, because for that flicker of a second, I think back to my dad and how proud he was of his boy being able to achieve his dream of working for CBS.
That's awesome. And you think about, you've covered a lot of big events throughout your career. You've got the U.S. Open coming to Pinehurst in a couple of weeks. What are your thoughts about that?
Pinehurst it's an American treasure. That's as simple as it gets. And we've got the World Golf Hall of Fame on June 10th at Pinehurst. I'm going to be there to present posthumously the Hall of Fame induction of Tom Weiskopf, who was a boyhood hero of mine. So, listen, North Carolina is a state that loves its golf. It loves ACC basketball, and it loves golf, and it loves NASCAR. I happen to be fortunate to have the opportunity to lend a voice to two of those for most of my career, college basketball and golf. By the way, the NFL is pretty fun too. And this sport here in Charlotte is gigantic. This state loves all of its sports. And I think that love of sport definitely ran deep in my family, and it sparked an interest in a young kid to open up his mind and his heart and his head and be able to dream of one day being able to hopefully lend a voice to these great championships of American sport when he grew up. I've been very fortunate and blessed.
First of all, obviously you've made such an impact just on Charlotte, North Carolina in general, with your career here playing for the Panthers. But if you were to talk to young Steve, hey, you're going to be in the Hall of Fame one day, is that pretty surreal for you? Is this like a childhood dream? Like, is that pretty crazy?
I don't want to lie and say it's a childhood dream, just because when you're playing sports as a kid, like some of this stuff you're not watching the news. You're just kind of playing out in the backyard and trying to emulate being Michael Jordan and being all these different people. And so, I think more than anything, as a 44, 45-year-old man, I find myself talking to young Steve today, walking through because of all the things that maybe I missed or did not know. And so trying to find that balance of, you sit on the stage sometimes and you don't even, as an observer, you're not sure which part of Steve are you tapping into, young Steve or old Steve. And so I think just having those times, having those moments and distinguishing the difference of which Steve is up there showing up today on the football field. But I think today the Steve that's showing up is the adult Steve. But also, the young Steve is still being cared to and acknowledged and looking at him and saying, hey, we've made it. Because older Steve is, sometimes we get locked in on the media of what we don't hear, and we miss what is actually going on in front of us. And so just trying to have a healthy balance and understanding.
To a football player who is maybe younger and wants to achieve everything that you've achieved, I mean, granted, you still literally hold all of the records for the Panthers and touchdowns and receiving yards, everything. But what would be your piece of advice to them?
I would think the biggest is enjoy it in the moment. It may be cliche, don't worry about tomorrow, because actually tomorrow's going to take care of itself. But really, it's just sit in those seconds, right? And as I got older, I don't like rushing. If I'm rushed, something's going to be missed. So try not to rush and slow down and just take it all in.
My last question, what was your immediate reaction knowing that you were being inducted into the Hall of Fame?
I had no idea I was qualified or any of that stuff. So I just experienced it. I think my biggest thing that I'm walking away with, everybody keeps asking me, what does it feel like for me? I think the biggest thing is me learning about everyone else and learning what and how they impacted and what they went through. Everybody knows about my story, but do I know enough about my classmates? And so, like, I didn't even know Jim Nantz lived there, right? Just like some people don't believe I still live here. So it's a great opportunity to just learn about everybody.
And I saw that little interaction before too, with just like, wow, you are a beast. Like,
Oh yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, like I was looking up Caroline, I'm like, oh my gosh, right? And just casually talking to her, but not knowing who she is.
Right.
And it's funny, as we told opposite, she grew up here, lives on the West Coast. I lived on the West Coast. I grew up on the West Coast, and now I live here. So talking how the information from the South is watered down when it finally gets to the West Coast, because one, they're 3 hours behind, right? And so it's just a lot of little nuances that is really cool.
Okay, I gotta know then. I'm a Southern California girl.
Yeah.
I just moved here. West Coast, East Coast, what are we thinking?
As far as?
For you, like what's your preference? I mean, obviously North Carolina's kept you here, but I mean, are you a West Coast, East Coast kind of guy?
I'm a West Coast guy. If you watch, I'm a West Coast guy, right? I'm a combination of both, West Coast and learning Southern hospitality. So God bless you, but I'm in a hurry. But trying to slow down and not be in a hurry.
Right?
Yeah.
The pace of life here is so much slower.
Yes.
And I'm like, maybe that's a good thing that you're supposed to learn.
Yes.
I love it. Doc, do you have anything?
Yeah, so Steve, when you think about your career, what are some of those plays or games that really stick out to you?
I mean, right now, man, I don't have any plays or games that stick out. I mean, other than my rookie season, the first game I scored, that was because on Sunday, but my daughter was born. The Wednesday before the first game. I mean, I'm not really looking at football right now in that capacity. I'm just trying to really enjoy, not wearing cleats anymore, right? It's just all those little small nuances that just part of retirement that I'm actually enjoying.
You're from Greensboro, pretty cool to have that track connection.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like you don't really hear much about people from Greensboro and where it's growing, let alone becoming an Olympian and everything that you accomplished. Just kind of speak on that about how you got through all that in your career.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, when I was growing up, there weren't a lot of rowing opportunities in North Carolina, and I think that's changing, right? With the High Point Rowing Club, there are more opportunities these days, and I got into the sport when it was really growing. One of the reasons why I actually even knew about the sport was that my mom read an article in the Wall Street Journal about scholarship opportunities for female athletes in the sport of rowing, and she was like, you should go to college and you should get a scholarship. So she was like, how about trying rowing? So I actually went to a rowing camp at UNC, and that was the first time I experienced the sport. And then after a couple years at Page High School, I transferred to Phillips Andover on an athletic scholarship. And there I was able to try the team. And I completely fell in love with the sport, and the rest is history. So yeah, I think, it's a tough sport because there's a lot of expensive equipment that's required to participate and compete, and so I love the all these new clubs that are popping up that can really provide access, and I think that's really important for the sport in the future, is to get access to various communities and different kids.
And when you think back about your career, you made it to the Olympics, you won international competitions as well. And I think that you're also named like the top rower
That's right.
as well. So What does that mean to you to accomplish all that and then to be here today to Hall of Fame and to get inducted?
It's so interesting. This is such an incredible honor, but I did not do any of this alone, right? So to be inducted singularly into a Hall of Fame is very strange for a rower, especially a rower that was on an 8. I was inducted into the Rowing Hall of Fame with my boat, and that makes sense, right? So I am blown away by this honor, and I'm so grateful to be a part of this year's class. But rowing is the ultimate team sport. We have to be physically and mentally on the same page to get to the finish line in one piece, so to speak. And so this is a bit strange being here alone without my teammates, right? And my success really hinged completely on the amazing athletes that I came into the national team with and that I was in college with, because no one can do it alone when you're in an 8 in rowing.
What would be your message to those
The thing that I always share when I speak with young rowers or young athletes in general, or just young people, what I share is that it takes hard work and time. People always thought, oh, it's Caroline, she's always been so good, she wins all these things. But truth be told, I got cut from the national team for 4 years before I finally made it, right? Like, it didn't happen all at once. Yes, I had natural abilities and I nurtured those abilities, but I got cut year after year after year after year, but I did not stop. I knew what I wanted to achieve, and so I think that that's my most meaningful message to kids and young athletes, is to never give up on your dreams and really keep pushing, keep driving. Like, it's possible. And it takes time.
I think the biggest word is just humbled, and I've struggled with it because I didn't think I was deserving of it, and particularly when I see this class, and to be able to go in and just humbling. It's the only way I can just find myself, and just grateful, and to be able to go in someone like Ron Wellman, another deacon, and just it's just so. You couldn't script it or dream of it to be any better than this, and so many other great inductees. It's just an unbelievable class. I'm just grateful. That's just the only way I'm stuck on that, because it's finally here. You heard about it. We've been communicating about this for months, and I guess I was working in season, and I was so busy. And when that ended, I traveled and I come back, and then it's finally hit me. So I'm here, and I'm just enjoying it and soaking it in.
When you were at Wake, you accomplished so much, and regarded as one of the best geeks of all time. Really, when you think about it, what are some of those moments during your career that really stand out to you today?
I think the biggest thing I take for granted, I don't take for granted, and I relish, is to come and make a commitment to an institution that at the time that wasn't very good. Like, when I committed to Wake, we weren't very good. And to have that type of career and be a part of a run in the early 90s that still stands and may be doing the best run in the history of the program, you're just humbled by it. You don't know your impact. You're just getting there, and you compete your tail off. And there are memories that I have. There's so many. It's not just a great game. I think I've said this before, the best memory that I have from my playing career is senior night. And Ron Wellman was a part of that. My jersey number, and you don't see this often, my jersey numbers are retired on senior night. And we played NC State, and I remember the NC State staff and bench and coaches, everybody came back out and sat on the bench and celebrated that honor. And I will forever be grateful for that moment, and I'll never forget it.
What's your biggest piece of advice to student athletes that come behind you and achieve success?
Enjoy it, stay in the moment, and give back. I think it's important to mentor and give back. I've had incredible mentors in my life, and I still do to this day. And a few of them are North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame members themselves. And I would just say, remember your journey and give back to those coming behind you.
So if we can first just kind of start off with, what does it mean to you to be inducted into North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame?
Well, it means that the works I've done and the service that I've tried to give as a teacher, as a coach, and as an administrator, that, it must have been okay And then the fact that I'm joining the ranks with this particular class of superstars. And then when you look at that list of others, I mean, it's just an humbling experience. It's an humbling feeling. You almost feel unworthy because these are giants in the state of North Carolina, and to think that I was even thought of amongst these giants is pretty special.
So you were the first female and first African-American commissioner for the state's high school athletic association.
That's right.
What did that mean to you?
Well, it meant, again, that the work ethic that my mom and dad instilled in me all those years ago really paid off. It wasn't about me ever trying to be the first anything. I just wanted to be Q Tucker. I wanted to help others along the way. I wanted to, work hard, because I grew up like Sheila Duncan was talking about. I grew up, on a farm. We had gardens. I learned to mow grass and learned how to change a tire on a car. So I grew up understanding that you have to work hard for anything. And then, of course, my mom was instrumental in helping me to be able to stand up and even do what I'm doing right now. And so when I became the commissioner, that was just kind of validation that all that hard work and the lessons that I'd learned along the way, that they were paying off. And I just wanted to be able to give back to North Carolina really what North Carolina had given to me and the many opportunities that I've had along the way. So I was grateful when that opportunity came along, and hopefully the folks in North Carolina, even though they don't always like the decisions that we make, hopefully though they understand that I have done what I've done with fairness and equity in mind, and always with the idea of doing what's best for student athletes in this state.
What would you say is your advice to those who try to follow in your footsteps?
Well, I think the advice that I would give anybody who is trying to come along and be an administrator is first of all, get a good education. Make sure you're prepared. Doors often open for people, but they're unable to enter those doors because they're not prepared. And so I would say prepare, and education is the key to everything we do. Even as athletes playing in our programs today, they are student athletes, and it is important that they remember that part. And when you're a good student, you're going to be a lifelong learner, and there will be things that you learn along the way, so that when those doors open, you'll be able to when they open, you'll be able to walk through with confidence and with assurance that if given the opportunity, you'll be able to do whatever that job is.
It was quite a surprise to be given this honor. It's something that you never anticipate, you certainly don't expect. And when I received the call from Tripp, I was overwhelmed. And like so many people said today, I thought it was a joke. And when he convinced me that he was serious, it was just a feeling that I've rarely had in my life. So it is truly an honor, and I am extremely grateful to be included. When I look at the names in this Hall of Fame, it is so impressive. I don't know if any state in the country has produced the names in the sports world that North Carolina has.
When you think about your tenure at Wake, you guys had so much athletic success. What was it like to have that success and to have it, sustainable?
Well, to have success at Wake, you have to understand the university. And fortunately, we had a bunch of coaches who understood how to succeed, not only succeed, but excel at Wake Forest. It's a unique university. They recognize the uniqueness of it. Our job was not to change the university. Our job was to represent the university well. And our coaches and our athletes and our administrators did that exceptionally well.
And what advice would you give to future student athletes at Wake as they come into the program, and even those who join the administrative side of things?
I hope everyone that goes to Wake Forest, whether it be a student athlete or a coach or administrator, recognizes the opportunity that they have. It's a unique opportunity, and I would encourage them to take full advantage of it.